Fix our technical issue with sound. I'm gonna call the meeting to order at 6:35. Nice to see everyone. To begin with, we have our consent agenda. We have prior minutes from the August meeting as well as a number of policy readings. Any questions, concerns, discussion about the minutes or any of the policies? All right, so I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda. We'll do that by roll. Lisa? You are muted. Lisa, are you able to hear me? What do you think? Miranda?
Yes.
Kat? Aye. Erin?
Aye.
Arlene?
Aye.
Mary's an aye, and let's just see, John, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't hear them. Which,
Oh, you think it's in reverse? They can hear us, we can't hear them?
yeah.
That box.
Lisa, hold tight, she's trying to fix something before you try that. She said she would go out and come back in.
It's not, it's telling us to unmute, but we are unmuted. Let's see. Lisa, can you hear us?
There we go.
That is so faint.
Oh, it's supposed to be on that.
Yeah, John.
Oh, because it's just coming through the laptop, eh?
I guess the projector might not have a speaker. I can try typing it.
Yeah.
What's that?
Because this plug into the.
Can you turn it on?
Tell them we're all trying to talk.
That's right. We're going to work this out. That's the date it's my old section. It's kind of it's
That's loud. That's loud.
Okay, I think I fixed it. Yeah. Okay.
Newsletter, you're recording.
Yes.
Lisa, John, did you hear the motion on the table?
No,
Okay, apologies for the sound issues. So the consent agenda, approval of prior minutes and policy, and the policies I had just asked if there were any questions, concerns about that. And if not, I made a motion to accept the consent agenda. So that's the motion on the table. John,
Yes.
Lisa,
yes,
great, thank you so much. And you can hear me now? We can hear you well.
yes.
Perfect, good.
100%. Very good.
Awesome, great. Lynn, any need to reprioritize the flow of the meeting? Okay. We have no visitors here in person. It doesn't look like there's anyone online, right, Courtney? I would see them.
Yep,
Yeah.
there's
Okay. So that brings us to the spotlight. I know Rhoda's not able to join us today, but we have a video that we're going to share.
She really wanted to be here. She
Yes.
was gonna come up and she did.
Understood.
Lisa Courtney's gonna share her spotlight for her.
Great.
Once I walk back into the meeting.
We're so glad you're here, Courtney.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Started in panic.
You're still not in here if you want to go from this.
I got it.
What are you guys working on? It's great to see you guys working together.
Noon by recess, it's past, it's dry, but we'll see. We'll see, we won't double that before. Gabe, I noticed you raised your hand silently. What do you have to say about the weather?
More than what? More than 10 or more than, you think it looks like it's more than 20, so that's why you're thinking. Okay. Lucian, you have an idea?
I think it might be 15 to 20.
Pick one. I love the fact that you're giving me a range, but pick like a top end, low end, middle, somewhere in there. What do you think?
So I think if Rhoda were here, she would share that it feels like we're off to a positive start in Bakersfield. I was able to visit on, I think it was Friday, and kids were happy, busy, seemed to be glad to be back, and we're jumping right in, establishing routines and going over expectations. So I think all in all, she's showing that you're off to a great start. This the community meeting that she started with is something that they've done for a while in Berkshire, in Bakersfield. It's kind of a community building opportunity in the gym. And I don't think they always look like that. Sometimes they're different, but that's something that's been important here in Bakersfield. So we have to good start.
Great. All right, Morgan, you're up then with the financial and business report.
Thank you. Next month is when I start monopolizing time with budget discussions. So I try to keep this one short. In terms of action items, the VISBA annual meeting and the VHI annual meetings are held in October at the Superintendents and School Board Association conference in Lake Maury. You have the option to, as members of the VISBA insurance pool, to either send a delegate to vote at those meetings or to grant your vote to the VISBA board. I don't have the VHI proxies yet because I haven't sent them out yet, so I have those to the next meeting. There are 2 board seats that are going to be elected. I've not heard if they have people running for those yet, but that's the only real business they will have at the VISBA board meeting. Mary's gone in the past. I don't know if you're going this year or not.
I'm still trying to figure out if I can fit it in with my work schedule or not.
So Morgan and I are actually going to be attending as well, so that is an option if you wanted to appoint either of us with those proxies, or because there isn't really anything significant you could for this year give them over to VISBA to go on your
Yeah. I think it makes sense to give the proxy to Morgan for VISBA and for VHI. Since I'm not, I'm hoping to go, but I have to juggle some things, and so it seems like since he is a sure bet and is in the loop with all the things that'll be discussed and dealt with there, that's what makes the most sense to me for this year.
Sure, that is I am for 7:30.
Yes, it's a riveting meeting. We've done it many years.
I mean, if you decide that you're going to go, you can always go to the meeting with him.
Sure, of course.
You would have a voting
Yeah,
designee, but
no problem.
Okay, so given that, I would like to have in the books a motion to appoint me as authorized representative to appear and vote on behalf of the board at any and all meetings of the members of the Vermont School Boards Insurance Trust or any adjournment thereof.
I'll make that motion. By roll, John,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Miranda, Kat,
Aye.
Erin,
Aye.
Arlene, and Mary is an aye.
I'm gonna punt my number 2 agenda item to Terry Sue. And so if there are no other questions, that's all I have.
So you don't want to do the VHI, you can't do the VHI yet?
I'm gonna wait until those proxies actually come out.
Okay,
in
well,
case
we can
something's
do that at the October meeting, and then by then I'll have figured out if I'm gonna be able to attend or not. Okay,
And that's all I have.
and you wanted, Terry Sue's gonna continue with the discussion of the temporary classroom
She'll do
space?
the updated
Okay,
numbers, yeah.
perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do
go.
it with the Sheldon update.
Oh, you wanna do it with your overall Sheldon update?
If that's okay. unless you
Yeah.
really-
That's fine, no problem. So, Lynn, that brings us to you.
Okay, so I think mine will be relatively quick as well. So we'll start with, in my superintendent report, the first thing is personnel. Nothing has changed since your board packets went out. So Mary, do you want me to review any of the, those piece by piece, or do you wanna just take action on the bolded item under hiring?
I think it's always nice to hear who's being
Okay.
hired in these positions.
Okay. So in Bakersfield, informational, Mary Keith and Sophie Flieger have been hired as paraeducators, so we'll be working in the pre-K. In Berkshire, Mark Stein has been hired to be grade 2 teacher, so that is a piece we'll need more action on. Brandy Kucher has been hired as a paraeducator, and Samantha Mason as a paraeducator. No new hires in Montgomery. In Sheldon, Quinn Racine has been hired as a pre-K paraeducator. Kaden Hanlon has been hired, that's an SU level position, so that's informational, as a literacy interventionist. Karina Stanley, who is working half-time as an interventionist at Sheldon already, has been hired under the SU to be a speech and language pathology assistant there, half-time, so she'll now be there full-time. The only resignations that we have are Brandy Kucher, who left Sheldon and went to Berkshire, and Amy Schwanier, who left Sheldon and is in Enosburg Elementary. Remaining open positions at Berkshire, we're looking for an enrichment teacher and paraeducators. In Montgomery, we're looking for a paraeducator. In Sheldon, we're still looking for a technology support specialist, paraeducators, and a long-term pre-K substitute teacher. And we have not been able to fill the NMV health teacher position. So that's it for personnel.
And you need a motion for the hiring
If not,
of Mark Stein as a second grade teacher
Yes.
at Berkshire. Okay, I'll make that motion. John,
Aye.
Lisa,
Aye.
Miranda,
Aye.
Pat,
Aye.
Erin, Arlene,
Aye.
Mary is an aye.
Don't have anything under student except some pictures from the first days of the school year from some of our classroom visits. I think Courtney's able to put in one from each of our buildings there. Lots of happy kids and exciting teachers. So talk a little bit just about my reflections from the beginning of the year. Every year we start off the year with our convocation at the Enosburg Falls High School. And we filled the auditorium this year with the addition of Sheldon into FNESU, and this year having every support staff member, including our custodians, our food service, and our administrative assistants. We were packed in there. I felt like it was a really great day. Our opening was really about making connections to the work that we've been doing, and I feel like so many light bulbs went off on that day, and a lot of people said to us afterwards that they really can see it now, that they can see the connections, and so much of the work that we've been doing has been focused not only on Act 173 and some of those transitions, it's also been really heavily focused on the mission and vision that have been established by the FNES board and the 3 big overarching board goals. And a lot of the work, I think I told you about this in August at leadership this year, was centered on all of us being stewards of that mission and vision and really working together to get there for those board goals. And I feel like we could feel the traction with our teachers and staff, and I think there's a much deeper understanding of the connections to, as I said, all of the work that we have been doing. So lots of really positive, eager, energetic staff members, even though it was a little warm, and it's always a long day when we first come back. We intentionally redesigned the professional learning component of the day to really try to personalize some opportunities for teachers so that they really could take a look at those board goals and assess where they were with their own practice and think about, one, as a team, when they're assigned their team time, what's the work in order to advance that collaborative team time. And then there was some choice in the afternoon. And that part, although had been asked for some time, it was a little unnerving in some ways, because I think we as educators sometimes are used to walking into something and knowing like it's gonna be this from this time to this time, and here's my expected task, and here's the outcome. And it was much more open than that. It was about what do you need, reflect on your own practice and think about the work of those board goals. And here are some connected options for you to do. So there's some embedded accountability in there, like goal setting, and then, some reflection about what it is they use the time for. So all in all, I think we get pretty positive feedback for the day. And then we receive feedback and we're gonna make some tweaks before we do it again. So it felt like it was a good start. The first week, I got to most classrooms on day one, and then I tagged Courtney in to help me finish the 3 schools that I wasn't able to get to. But within the first week, I was in most every classroom in the supervisory team. My timing was off in some places for lunch and recess, and one of my bigger schools I wasn't able to quite get everywhere, but really I could see the connections. I walked into Petersburg Elementary School and saw this bulletin board right in the lobby that said FNESU board goals, and it's like centered, highlighted that this is what we're working towards, and people are latching onto that. The personal goals that they're creating at their schools are very much tied to those board goals. So it is big light bulbs going off, and I'm anticipating that we're going to see our outcomes are going to be reflective of this renewed sense of, one, urgency, and 2, the stewardship. Everybody kind of feeling their piece of this work. Those are my reflections.
Lovely.
Yeah, thanks, Lynn.
So one of the goals that I have for the year is to do a better job of making the good work that we're doing within FNESU more transparent to all of our stakeholders. So beginning in mid-September, we're going to publish our first monthly FNESU community newsletter. So Courtney and I spent some time together this summer. We revamped our e-blast that principals receive every Wednesday, our staff newsletter that will go out at least monthly, and this community newsletter. So I'm going to just show you a draft preview of what this will look like, and this will be distributed widely. We'll do this on our social media pages, all of our websites. We're even thinking that we'll put some hard copies in maybe some public libraries and top clerks, and just see if we can get more of our work out there. So each month, we have planning boards where we've already established some of the focus for each of these subcategories for each month. We have it for others, but I'll do some sort of a highlight under my superintendent's update, and then each month I'll pick a school to spotlight something great that's happening there. We'll take some time to introduce the work of our central office team, who they are and what they're doing, how they're advancing the work of our organization. You hear a little bit about curriculum instruction and learning from Gabrielle Lumbra and Nina Belitsos, our co-interim directors. You'll hear about some technology tips that are relevant for parents and families. We'll learn about one school we'll highlight for school facilities, and we've spread it out so no school will be highlighted twice in any newsletter. So at least every other newsletter you'll see your child's school reflected in the newsletter. Food service will highlight a food service program. Again, we'll alternate between schools. Same for early ed. Early ed is also doing a monthly newsletter for families, and that will be linked in here as well. So there'll be a highlight, and then that'll take them to more information around early ed and family engagement around that. We'll have a little bit of information about school safety. We'll do some spotlighting of our Leads After School programs, and our family engagement coordinators we don't have many still at the SU level, but we're hoping to be able to put something in there. It may not be every month, but something around engaging families with the work in our schools, or highlighting how we're engaging families. And then I think finally is the next piece. It's not moving for you, is it, Courtney? I think the next piece is employment opportunities at FNESU, so we'll have a running list.
Student learning is our next page.
Okay, I'm not sure I open it.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Not scrolling.
Oh, yes. So we have a section that Dr. Irish will be doing all means all through the equity lens. So we'll be talking about the purpose of that work. We'll have something, this whole page will be focused on student learning, something from our student services director. We'll have something that our Mary Ellis will put together for families in terms of math, how families can be interested in some math. And our instructional coaches will be putting something in there about how families can engage their children around literacy as well. And then at the very end, we'll have employment opportunities in that
that's
community.
fine. Sorry, I lost internet.
What's that?
I lost internet.
Oh, is that what it was?
So, I'm sorry.
Oh, is that what's going on?
Yeah.
Are you all?
I was wondering.
It looks like if you click back on it, it lets you back on.
I'm sorry. I think everybody lost it.
Any questions or comments about the community newsletter?
It's excellent. Thank you so much. Looks like this is gonna be a great, resource for everyone, and I love that we're pushing more of this out into the community, so I appreciate you all, making this happen. It's great.
I think there's some misconceptions about the work that we're doing, and I don't think all of the work is visible. So I think this is a good opportunity to think about it through the lens of what do all of our stakeholders know, what might they wonder, and what don't they know. So it's kind of going to be the crux of our thinking as we publish these books.
And I do like the idea of trying to have some hard copies available too, just because not everyone has computers at home or access to, the internet, and so it'd be nice to be able to distribute those to other people in the community who might not otherwise be able to access them.
We will also push it out on our all email list to all families, so they'll receive it that way, but
Yeah.
I would love the target audience to be the broader community as well, so that's why.
I was gonna say, could we have some printouts that we put in like the local libraries,
Yeah,
that sort of
you're
thing?
thinking town clerks and
Town
local
clerks, yeah,
libraries,
yeah.
is that, I think
Yeah.
generally is where people congregate.
Yeah, that's great. Nice.
So look for that in the next couple of weeks.
Perfect.
We'll make sure board members.
And I don't know if all the towns do this, but I just recently signed up for the Montgomery Town email. So once a week I get an email now, and it has like a bunch of links. It has like the select board minutes. So like I wondered if you could also get in on town email distribution lists.
Maybe Courtney, could you put that on the list in terms of connecting with town clerks to see if they send out or post anything on their public websites? That'd be a great connection. Thank you. Okay, so next, I don't know if Courtney can, probably can't.
Is our Zoom down? Because I don't have Wi-Fi right now, access.
I got back on.
You did?
Yeah, I just had to hit the, I think I did.
Refresh button.
Yeah, no, I had to go back up to the wireless thing.
Huh.
Not that,
Yes, so this will be down with Courtney's connection. It said it's good Courtney's connection,
Yeah.
zoom it down too, so.
You
Do you want to
Well-
turn off phone?
Did we lose space on
I'm not sure. It
So I
looks
sent
like
an
it's
email.
still connected in Zoom. It could be that Lisa and John might have, one of them ended up being the host, but it's not connecting to my hotspot, it's not connecting to anything.
But if we still have a quorum, maybe Courtney could continue to, maybe we're back.
Lisa, John, were you able to hear Lynn?
Yes.
Oh, great.
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay.
We didn't lose them.
All right. I know I definitely don't have internet right now, but it's fine. I can work offline on the Google Docs. Okay.
So I'll move on to my next topic. It's connected to our board monitoring plan. So one of our commitments is to bring data back to the board each month as we go through the year, connected to our priorities. Either the board goal or the other piece of work that we work really hard on is teacher recruitment and retention. I think we all understand, I'm hoping the public is starting to understand that we're living in very different worlds now. I've been doing this job for a while, and when I first started to look at teaching positions, I was competing against 300 to 500 other candidates also looking for that teaching position. It was very hard to get into education at that time. It was incredibly competitive. We're in a really different place now, and there are times when we have teaching positions that we get no candidates for. Most commonly, we get between 1 and 3 candidates for teaching positions. So we are competing with Chittenden County and our other neighbors in terms of the people who are out there looking for work. So the board has been doing significant work around recruitment and retention of our staff. If you remember last year, one of the pieces that we put into place was a retention strategy. When we negotiated that master agreement the last time, we put language in that allowed us to offer those contracts earlier to teachers. So we were able to offer contracts on April 3rd last year. And that was, I think, 13 days earlier than what we typically could offer contracts. The board put a strategy into place, an early signing strategy. So there was a bonus connected to early return, early signing of contracts if they were returned by April 7th. So within this, you probably can't share, can you, Courtney? That's fine, I'll send this to you. So there's data, I'll just read the data to you. So I asked for our human resources people to say, like, give me the data, let's really reflect on was this an effective strategy or not. So within 5 days of issuing the contract, after the April 7th deadline, Bakersfield Elementary knew that 100% of their staff was returning, their teaching staff was returning. Berkshire knew that 94% of their staff was returning. Montgomery knew that 94% of their staff was returning, and Sheldon knew that 100% were returning. Those were the people that had not previously retired or resigned. Those were the people that were kind of in that pool of we're hoping they're all returning. In NMV, we knew at that point that we had 95% of our staff returning. In FNESU, we knew that we had 90% of our staff returning. So it was a tremendously impactful strategy that we put into place. So teachers knew on April 7th, by the end of the day, what their reality was going into hiring season. They had some unknowns, the people that didn't sign early. I think we posted tentative openings after that signing bonus, but they were able to get started and in some cases conclude their hiring before they would have even had the information in previous years. So that helped us to be much more competitive when people were actually looking for work, when they were on your contract. Currently, we were able to be much more competitive. So previously, contracts, if we were using our old language, we wouldn't have been able to release those contracts until April 17th. They would have been due back on May 1st, and anyone could have had an extension until May 15th. So in a lot of cases, principals would not have known until May 15th, and we were able to know most of it by April 7th. So I think that was a pretty effective strategy. Okay.
Lynn, do you have a figure of what it cost us in bonuses?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I can get that to you though. That was ESSER strategy money
Yep.
that we're able to use. So I can get that back to you.
And I think that as we look toward budget season, it would be helpful to know what those amounted to. And since, we realize we're coming to the end of the ESSER funding and we have a lot of things to now kind of look toward incorporating into our regular budget, it would just be helpful to have those, whether it's replicable or not for subsequent years is hard to say because it's in the context of the budget as we get developing it and the diminishing ESSER funds and all the other forces at play. But it's clearly was a very effective strategy.
And we'll bring that to you as we're building that budget moving forward. I think in terms of the strategy, one of the things that when we were creating that recruitment and retention plan, we did some research in terms of what's the cost of onboarding a new educator. And there's national data about for every educator that you onboard, the amount of time that your administrators spend, your instructional coaches spend, your directors and superintendent, all of us spend onboarding all that new staff. It's about $10,000 per teacher. So you're looking at the number of teacher turnovers that we're having, that might be interesting data to look at and compare. Like, what's that projected cost that if we had the same number of teachers turnover compared to what we spend
Right.
on that plan? Because that's the financial cost, but there are other benefits of those teachers
Yes.
returning, because then, you know, one of the things that we've talked about at the board level many times is about that, the work that we're trying to do when you're turning over 25% of your staff, it's hard to build and sustain that forward momentum with this work, because you're constantly trying to onboard 25% brand new teachers in many cases. So that, there's a cost benefit analysis in that data as well.
Right, so there's a lot of nuance beyond just the dollar amount, when we start looking at this for future seasons, for sure.
And the dollar amount on the NMV side is about 81,000 district-wide, so 20-ish per school.
Yeah. Yeah, and so looking at our historical turnover and how many people historically we've had to do that onboarding with would be really helpful. Because that at least helps clarify some of the kind of the numbers and budgetary concerns, and right, then there are all these other ancillary downstream effects that, you know, maybe we aren't kind of fiscally significant, but they are organizationally significant.
Absolutely. Okay. We'll try to look at that data through that
Right.
lens as well.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful since we're heading into budget season. Great.
All right, any other questions on that? And then last, I'm gonna turn some of this over to Morgan to talk about PCBs. I had two others to fit in there. I wanted to talk about Sheldon and Berkshire.
Okay, sorry, yeah, go ahead.
So in Sheldon, the air canisters which do the initial air testing were put in on Monday, presumably the next day. So we will get our baseline results for Sheldon at some point. It took us a year to get it for Richard Elementary, significantly less for Berkshire, but I wouldn't put any money on when we're going to see those results. In Berkshire, we've had a little bit of movement since the update last month. We have a plan in place that has been approved by the DEC to do some retesting and to do some cleaning in one of the rooms that was identified, putting in an air filtration system there, and then after a week of that, we will retest that room. There are suspect materials in the two classrooms that were identified and two stairwells that were potentially identified. And so depending on what those air tests do, we will continue to kind of test materials. Levels are still high. It's going to be to try to figure out what's causing them to be high. When we find something, it's likely what the consultant will do is say, well, let's remediate that, do another cleaning, do another filtration, and test again, so that you're not bending everything to try to find this stuff. My sense, and Gavin was at the meeting that we had with our consultant, was he felt pretty confident that it was going to be in 2 or 3 materials that were pretty distinct, so not widespread throughout the facility. So I feel like we probably got as good news as we were going to get from that consultant.
And that's because the remediation's gonna just be more focused to these handful of materials rather than having to like do wide scale renovations in these spaces.
Right, so in Burlington, part of the issue was when they went in and started identifying materials, there were things that were spread throughout the campus. We did a major renovation in 2012 in Berkshire, and that probably got rid of a lot of the PCB containing materials, would be my guess, because of the type of work we did. These 2 rooms were not touched in the same way, so that also leads us to these couple of places where we think materials are. Everything is still moving along pretty slowly, so it took us a month to get this plan approved, I would say. The company that would come in and do the cleaning, so they basically do a deep cleaning of every surface to clear out any residual material, and then we do the air filtration, and then you have a better picture of what might still be coming out of the materials. The cleaning company, I'd be surprised if we were able to get them in within a month. Basically, they're telling us about their schedule. We get them in as soon as possible, and they may have an update for you next month.
Thanks, Maria.
Oh, I'm sorry, I do have one other thing under personnel, but it would require us to go into executive.
Okay,
Do you wanna wait until the end?
yes, let's punt it to the end. Okay. All right, so that brings us to our principal reports, Gavin.
Perfect. You'll have to forgive me, my notes were on the computer and fortunately I actually did a little bit of pre-writing as well, so, oh, perfect. Thank you, Courtney. So starting off with board goals, one of the biggest things that we've moved, or probably the biggest movement we've made in making sure that we're helping to achieve that, has been through our work this past summer, and also the work that we, and also the work that we did this past in service as well, particularly in finding ways to make our win time or what I need time more meaningful. Probably the biggest initiative we took on was making sure that we created an enrichment menu of specific activities, basically formed in collaboration between our unified arts teachers who were helping to support enrichment, as well as our core content teachers and interventionists, to make sure that when our unified arts teachers are pushing into the classroom or pulling out students for enrichment time, they actually have specific academic activities that they can pull from. Of course, there's also the option that those course subject teachers might reach out to those unified arts teachers in advance if there's a specific activity that they would like to continue to work as an extension of their instruction. But having that enrichment menu is going to really help ensure quality control and consistency in terms of enrichment instruction as well. Moving into, and of course in our notes you'll see this is from our second day of local in-service as well, where we took an USI as a sign of a shared commitment to making sure that we're hitting those proficiency goals as well. Moving into social emotional, I will confess that probably SEL has been one of the topics that has really stuck with me these past 2 weeks. And that is just to see ways that we can build a positive community culture and positive campus culture, particularly among our students, and with, I think, a particular emphasis towards middle school as well. Initially last week, I said those first two hours of our first day of school, we had a whole campus meeting. We got to have our ringing of the bell ceremony. I walked into my office and I said, "Oh, this is a cakewalk." My honeymoon period lasted about 2 hours as I began to work with the students. There was a little bit of, I would probably just say some rambunctiousness, but also just a little bit of jadedness among those middle school students. And I think initially, some of that may have stemmed from the fact that we are a campus in change, and I am a brand new person all the way from Arizona, and I think some of the times I was beginning to meet those students, they were like, "Who the heck are you? And why are you trying to give me a fist bump?" So that was something where I thought, oh my goodness, this is gonna be something where I found at points flustered, like, oh my goodness. We've got to find a way to get these students back on track, and we've got to find a way to really get them engaged. One of the positives is that some of that work was already done in advance. And probably one of the bigger leverage points that we had with that was our behavior matrix. We have updated our behavior matrix. The biggest thing is there are progressive consequences, particularly for students who end up being referred to our planning room. And as students began to see that, they began to realize, oh my goodness, you know what? If I'm being sent to the planning room multiple times during the week, those consequences do gradually increase, including phone calls home, including additional time spent working in the planning room to develop a plan to be successful, and also having to reach out to the students. Reach out to the teachers whose classes I'm missing. A huge takeaway that can't be overlooked is the fact that, and this is a powerful tool in our favor, is our students want to be in class. They do not want to leave class. They do not want to spend extended periods outside of the class. They want to be in class because they have that connection with their peers. And so far with the matrix, that's afforded us the opportunity also to have some productive conversations, reaching out to those families as well. The other thing that we've been doing also, though, is once again investing in, it can't just be consequences. There have to be those ways of bringing in buy-in from the students as well, and recognizing and celebrating positive behavior. We are still pushing forward with our PBIS program. That involves students being able to earn class coins, and then the students are able to redeem those class coins in order to have different ways of celebrating the class and different fun activities that they can do with the class. The other thing that we have done now 2 weeks in a row, first day of school, and now from going forward the first Wednesday of every month, is our whole campus meetings as well, where those are chances for us to come together, have fun as a community in the morning. But also a big push of that has been reminding ourselves what are KRS values, kindness, responsibility, and safety, what those mean. As a matter of fact, and I apologize because I just got this picture today, so you guys might have to squint, or I'll make sure to send out this as well. Is part of that was being able to, let me see if I can enlarge that. Part of that was being able to celebrate our focus value of the day, of the meeting. This one was on kindness. We discussed as a campus what kindness means, and the 3 big attributes, of course, would be friendliness, consideration, and also generosity. And in the picture, you'll see our school librarian, Miss Ann Larrabee, who was named as the staff member of the month, and she's holding a championship belt, and it was for her embodiment of kindness. And we were able to use her example, which was she willingly gave her library to our math team while it's being closed for PCB. So she donated her space, and she has continually volunteered to fill in for duties as well, to provide extra supervision and to really get to know the students as well. And finally, that star teacher or star staff member at the week parking spot is now going to be used again. We are going to replace the sign though. So those are the 2 big things. The other big push with SEL is going to be, Berkshire is sort of on the forefront of this, where our teachers are actually starting to do first instruction and second step, our SEL curriculum. And then our guidance counselor during his guidance classes is actually filling in and doing extensions of those lessons. And one of the things that's really powerful about that is that really is shifting the view of SEL from being something that, even where I came from in my old school, SEL was always kind of off to the side and like, oh, if you get around to it, try to get some SEL in there as well, which of course really wasn't an effective approach. But we're actually being able to pull in SEL into our main instruction and really treating it as one of our core foundational standards, and really trying to find ways to bridge SEL into our core subject standards as well, because you're going to need those social emotional skills to be able to be successful in math or science or ELA or any subject or any field in life. Moving into student-centered learning, I am excited. I do have some data for you as well. One of the big shifts for student-centered learning was finding time for the teachers to really begin to plan for UDL as well, or Universal Design for Learning. And so we have scheduled time into our PD schedules, particularly for those Mondays and our early release Tuesdays, so that the teachers will be able to work together to develop ways to make sure during their PLCs that they are bringing forward or implementing UDL strategies. And one of the things I did want to follow up was, I know there was a question about personal learning plans as well. So I was able, there wasn't really a formalized way that we were tracking the data. I was able to scrounge it up. And so we did find 100% of our students from 6th through 8th grade last year did have personal learning plans that they were working on. However, we only had about a third of those students end up actually participate in conferencing and presenting those plans last year. And we based that, or we were able to find that data based on sign-ins from the student conferences in April. One positive though that's going to allow us to push forward with that is we do have built into our schedule as well time in the day where students could or can work on their personal learning plans as well in middle school. In terms of additional news, as Dr. Kota mentioned earlier, we did welcome some new staff members since we last met, including Mark Stein, who's our new second grade teacher, Tanya Thompson, who's joining us from Enosburg in our kitchen, and then Samantha Mason. Brandy Kucher had already joined us during the time of the last meeting. However, Samantha Mason has joined us as a para-educator. The one final thing is that last month we did lose a longtime member of our community, Carrie Fleckenstein, who did die suddenly. And he was a huge fixture, particularly with the middle school. He was a force who was always there for the students. I think he had been there for as long as you had been principal. And so he and his wife have been with us for a long time and were really a part of our community and a part of that fabric. He did pass away. One of the things is we have had time to work with students to help them process during this time. And we will be in this upcoming spring, we will be planting a red oak tree in his honor. It is going to be located in the school community garden. So it will be as if a piece of, or a part of him is always going to be there with the students as they go out into the garden.
It overlooks the playground. Right?
Yeah, well, it's going to overlook, it's actually off, it will be near the pre-K playground, but it's next to where the students will come out, will go out and oftentimes do their work in the community garden.
Thanks so much, Gavin, for sharing that. Sandy.
Let's see, I have some things that maybe weren't on my report that I.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you'd like to highlight? Yeah.
Okay, so I know I mentioned back, I think in the spring, that I was planning to revamp the schedule a little bit for an earlier start time for Montgomery. And it was big. It was a lot of change, but it added 88 hours of academics that our students didn't have, all because the bus was tied to a schedule that had to go to the high school. So we did it, it's working, attendance is great, kids are there on time, so far so good. And we also condensed the 2 bus loads into 1 bus load, so it meant revamping all 2 of our bus routes, because we only have 2 bus routes. And so that was, some change for people, so there was kind of a lot that came together all at once, but it's all fine, the buses are rolling in on time, everything's happening just the way it should be. I'm very happy with that. Also, we did some more changes, adding wind time to our schedule, and we did figure out how to schedule that in, and interventionists are ready to rock and roll, and we are also adding enrichment to our wind time as well for those students who are already proficient or above. We just want to keep pushing and adding the rigor where it needs to be. And we are also starting with we call them SI teams, because I didn't like saying SIT teams, because it's like system improvement teams. So we're calling them something, SI teams. So I'll report on that next month, because we are a little bit later getting started with that in Montgomery, and right now people are choosing what team they want to be on and so forth, so I'll report that in my report for October. Something more along the lines of tradition that doesn't necessarily happen everywhere. Montgomery has done recess rodeo forever, as far as I know. And it's usually on the first day of school. We postponed it until the second day of school because the weather was much better on the second day of school. And what that is there are like 10 items on the playground that students can play or do, and they all have a certain set of rules to them. And we have our 8th graders go out, host them at the different places, and we break all of our students. We start with a little assembly and then we break them all into teams that are mixed grade levels. And we have staff members leading them around. And they circulate around to all the different games and so forth, and the 8th graders remind or teach any new students about the rules for each of those games. And then we have a booklet so that staff members out at recess duty always have the rules if anyone needs to refer to them, but it's just a really good way to remind students about sportsmanship. And even though they played these games last year, it's okay to have a review. So it's a fun day, they're outside, they get to try on all these games and play on the equipment, and it's just a nice way to get started. I also, the PLPs, the statistics on that, I saw that after the fact, and I'm not quite sure why, but we did have 100% of our 7th and 8th grade, 8th graders had PLPs last year, complete PLPs, and 97% of our students shared at the student-led conferences. And that 97% is attendance for our whole entire school, not just for 7th and 8th grade with PLPs. All except 2 students shared their PLPs with their parents. And we have a plan that next year for student-led conferences, if a family can't make it for some reason, some scheduled after the fact because they were out or something happened and couldn't attend. But next year, if families just don't come, we're gonna have the student choose a staff member or another family member that might be able to come, but the staff member most likely, so that they can perform their conference in front of someone that's special to them. So that's a decision we made recently. So other than that, if there's any questions on my report, I'd be happy to elaborate on anything else that's on there, but other than that, we're off to a good start.
I do have a question. How is Cash enjoying his new position?
Cash has been hysterical because the fact that I know him so well, and he's been coming into that school in the summertime with me since he was a puppy, and he's 4. He's super smart and he's a character. But a couple of the funny things he's doing is this summer when he came in with me, I was looking for a ball for him. I usually have one in my file cabinet. I couldn't find it, so I went to the P.E.G closet, found a ball in there, and now every day when he comes in, because we follow the carpet in the staff door and we make the turn past the kitchen, and the P.E.G door is, the storage closet is right there, and he stops every day and looks at the door.
Oh.
And I'm like, no, let's go. You know, we're not going in there again. And he remembers where the ball came from. And then there are a few things that have spooked him that's been so comical. There's a stuffed giraffe that's about this tall in the library, and he does not like it. And then down at the end of the middle school wing, there's a pharaoh that was a project from someone's theme journal years ago, and it's tall, and it just looks like this tall guy standing down in the hallway. And the first time he saw him, he froze and barked at him. I've never seen him do things like that. So, but with the kids, he's just loving it. He will fetch a ball until he falls over, and the kids just love it. And there was one of our special needs students who played with him for the longest time, and it was just really nice to see.
Sandy, can you share what he passed this summer?
Yes, it's called, it's through the American Kennel Club. They have what's called the Canine Good Citizen, and there's an assessment for it. You have to reach out and find a trainer to meet the trainer and do it's a 10-point assessment. So things like he has to walk on a loose leash and kind of stay with me and turn with me when I turn, and has to kind of casually walk by a group of people without pulling to get to them or anything. He can pause and like he sniffed the person's shoe and then kept going. So that's allowed. He had to do a stay while I walked away and came back to him. He had to do a stay while I walked away and I call him to come. He had to do, I have the list somewhere, but he had to meet I had to meet another person with him on my leash that had a dog on their leash without him kind of pulling and going crazy and looking for whatever to play. And he had to do a supervised, I forget what they call it, I had to actually leave the room and walk away so he couldn't see me, and I left him with that trainer and then come back and he was just sitting there just like, all right, she's back. he was totally, and the noise. And we did this in the gym at school. I had people there, I had the trainer come to school and meet me, and she took a pot with a spoon, because they have to test them on how it's gonna react to a loud noise, and she slammed that pot. He looked over, and then he just looked back at me and like, it was so funny to watch him. I think I was more nervous than he was. I was like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? But he was great. And he's super cute. It's been hot I haven't brought him the last couple days. I just don't think it's good for him, so yeah. And I just did I did a day, and then I skipped a day, and then I brought him again. I'm trying to introduce him with all these Scooby things. I don't want him overwhelmed. So it's fun. This is my boy. His name's Cash.
Thanks, Sandy. That's great. All right, Terry Sue.
Awesome. I'll start with the modular update. So it's on the road half of it's on the road as we speak, and so 2 of the 4 modular parts are coming tomorrow to be put onto the cement to wait for the other half of it, which all I know for certain is that's coming beginning of next week, but I don't know exact dates for that one. So if you come to Sheldon tomorrow, please don't park in our upper lots, just so that when the semi does get there with these 2 pieces of our 4 pieces building, they can actually make it through without damaging anyone's car. So that's really good news, and we're really excited, and I'll take lots of pictures. But yes, that was some really good news. 2 of our staff, our UA teachers right now, given up their classrooms. They're teaching in student rooms so that our 2 of our middle school teachers could have classrooms in the building. So we're doing middle school ELA in the library. It made sense. And we're doing middle school math in the art room because that teacher shared that room last year at times as well, so he's familiar with everything in there. And then our social studies teacher Bakersfield was very kind to loan us their big giant tent. So he is down the hill by our sugaring house, teaching social studies from there and getting a lot of outside times with kids. He loves it. Now, was it the first day of school we had that down for? Yeah. So that first day of school, about halfway through when the rain started, middle schoolers were no longer amused by having to go up and down the hill to go to class. But we made it work. As Lynn knows, the end of that first day was actually kind of hilarious because just as the kids were going out to the buses, the little kinder bears, they had to walk through this downpour, and our adults were just drenched, even ones wearing coats. It was actually really kind of fun in the end. That everyone now jokes about the first day of school downpour going to buses. So it was actually a positive. By morning 3, so by Friday, we no longer had a backup in our parking lot for drop-off anymore whatsoever. It doesn't even get beyond the lower lot. It doesn't even get past that in the mornings anymore. We figured it all out, and the afternoon pickup still can get a little backed up because people are showing up half an hour before school even ends and having to wait for 4 buses to arrive. So that's what's creating the backup. I've tried to communicate. Don't have to arrive this early. You have to wait for the 4 buses anyway. So we're working on that one, but otherwise we've solved those transportation issues that I know some people have been concerned about, but just takes time. So our staff, we started with local and service the day before convocation. Had a really good first day. Our staff, we're focusing on circles as part of our way to make connections and relationships with our students and fellow staff members. So we talked about that, some of our PBIS and behavior matrix work on the first day, etc. And myself and my assistant principal, Sean Stebbins, we were working on making sure the expectations were clear for staff, that they knew that we meant business this year, and I have said it so many times now, it's a growth year. And I firmly believe that. One of our staff even put it on a bulletin board up front so all the students can see it and buy in. I like symbolism. I gave them all pea plants to actually in a pot, and they get to pick their seed, and the idea was they can grow it, talk about with their students about growth and that kind of a thing. And now I have teachers sending me pictures like crazy, or having come in my room. And today, one of the pea plants is already that tall and needs to be transplanted because she accidentally put multiple seeds in the bin. So it's been really fun watching that, and the positivity has been great. One of the ways we started trying to build community right away is I got them all t-shirts that say staff on the back, and it's the Sheldon logo, and they wore it to convocation, and I walked into the auditorium in the morning, and this entire section was green, and it was really cool to see. And then at one of the afternoon things I was walking around to help, I walk into the SEL room because that is what my staff decided is our first priority standard to be a steward of under the big three. And I walk into the SEL training room, and I open the door, and all I see is green in there. And it was the coolest thing I think I've experienced so far. And then we had 2 more days of local in-service, and by the end of it, everyone's like, oh wait, we're done? They said it was the first year that instead of in-service feeling like it was 2 weeks long for 4 days, that the 4 days didn't feel like it was enough. So that felt really good that I had structured in a way that was what they wanted and valuable to them. First day of school was phenomenal. The kids were excited. I got to go around to every single room and meet as many as I met all the kids, not necessarily one-on-one, but I got to meet all the classes, see them in action, trying to get started with routines and procedures. Got to tell all the kids my 2 favorite things about school were I really like bad dad jokes and I really like books. So now I have kids coming to me every day when they find me tell me really bad dad jokes, which are really fun. And what books, a lot of the kids are also telling me now what books they have to read. Thankfully, it's a lot of the littles telling me what books, so I'll get through them fast. Yeah, it's been really great. Let's see what else. On Tuesday, September 19th, you are all invited, and I'll get an official invite out here soon. We're not only having our open house, we are doing a ribbon cutting at Sheldon. There's been a lot of upgrades to the building. We're going to have our modular unit installed and ready to walk through. There was new siding put on the building, which means I need to update the picture that you used. New siding put on the building. The gym floors were redone. If you've seen the pictures, if you're on social media and see us on there, you can see the hallways and classrooms, the floors were stripped and redone. They look amazing. I had one of my staff members paint our front counter. It was this dinged up black, and now it's the school green on that, and it looks so sharp and clean. Everyone, including students, feel really proud of what it looks like right now and are really trying to work hard to keep it that way, which was just a joy to see students telling each other, you gotta keep that up this week as I'm walking through the hallways. So we're doing a ribbon cutting ceremony. So, and Lillian will be there, and Morgan will be there, and Vern will be there for sure, because they're integral in making all this stuff happen. So I really wanted an opportunity to celebrate all the work that's been done. That COVID interrupted some of the celebrations for some of the work, so we're just going to do it now. Yeah, it'll be exciting. I'm excited. So, and then tomorrow, my last update I'm going to share. Tomorrow we have our first sleuth team meeting with 6 of my students, all middle school. We're going to start with the middle school one first because it's a middle school solution meeting. If you don't know what sleuth means, it's actually a group of bears. Since we're the bears, it actually was perfect. It's one of the ways we're integrating this year to really get student voice along with student-led conferences, which is my background in schools. I've always been in student-led conferences, so I'm trying to help the teachers see that even kindergartners can do this. If they're buying in, they just want to see it in action. So, but we had a situation that our Bears Assembly this week where middle schoolers weren't necessarily the best audience. So these 2, 6, 7th, and 8th graders we're all getting together for lunch tomorrow, and I want to hear what solutions they have for how to train our middle schoolers to be better audience members. So when our littles present things, they're not scared to do so, and they can be supportive without rambunctious in the facility. But it was really a positive experience because we realized, oh, with the COVID years and stuff, we haven't really, other than they tried to get assemblies back last year, they never were trained on how to do them, how to be good audience members. So we figure students probably have the solution on how they can be trained appropriately to do this. So this is their first session. So like I said, because it was just middle schoolers, it's just middle schoolers on the team to make the solution. Just sleuth it out, so to speak. And then we have another one upcoming that'll be some third through fifth graders that have like 2 for each of those students coming in. And we're gonna work on some other things like student-led conferences, like how do they think it should look? Because I think it's valuable, and Sean Stevens agrees with me, that we really want student voice to be heard a lot more in the decision making in our building and not just adults telling students what to do. So this isn't like a student government. We're gonna meet as we need. They have a cool little invite card when we discover there's a need. So it has like 3 little bears with sunglasses on, and it says for the team, so they get it in their homeroom that morning, and they know that day at lunch they're gonna come to my office and we're gonna have a little think tank, and so they kind of think it's cool. And it's not like the students that are always the ones who are overeager to help this first group. Only one of them would be those students that want to do everything. The other 5 are the kind of the ones that just sit back and let things happen, but they have really good ideas, they just haven't had the opportunity to share yet. So I'm excited to give them some opportunities to be leaders in our school and really work to have some ownership. It's that collective ownership we're trying to build, not just with our staff, but with our students. And staff are really curious to see how it goes. They've never seen this in action, so I'm really excited to do it. But they're all like, ooh, I want to see this. Maybe we can do it at my classroom level. I mean, you totally can. And so, but they want to see that it happens at the higher level first before they start thinking about using it in the classroom for problem solving. Yeah.
Great. Thank you so much. So moving on to board business, any future agenda items that anyone wants to mention now? There's always time. Our next meeting will be October 4th at Montgomery. And with that, I'm gonna make a motion to enter executive session. We'll excuse our principals, keep Terry Sue. I'll make a motion to enter executive session. By roll, John,
Yes.
Lisa.
Lisa had to go to another meeting, so she's not here.
Okay, Miranda, Kat, Erin, Arlene,
Aye.
and Mary is an aye. Great, thank you so much. Okay, excellent. So we have exited executive session with no motions pending. And I will now make if anyone has no further discussion, I'll make a motion to adjourn by roll. John,
Aye.
Miranda, Kat, Erin, Arlene,
Aye.
Mary is an aye. Thank you all so much. See you in October.